is. And as soon as President Trump said, Gallrein is my guy, most of that money was spent to introduce Gallrein. Now, to answer your question more direct, that's my opinion. I think the data will reflect it. Nobody knew him. They had to introduce him. That's why they had to spend so much money. He's running against an incumbent that everybody in the whole district knew on the Republican side. Now, on your point, you may remember this, Pierce. I'm going to be vindicated on this. Do you remember when I was on your show in the middle of the tariff wars and everybody, the stock market was down at 5,000, and I came on and I told you, Pierce, I will wear a clown nose on your show.
You did.
If within a year the stock market is not massively higher than it is on this day. It's now up 50% since then. I will make a promise to you, Pierce. If the gas prices right now, $4.50 per gallon on average, all 50 states, that's an average. If they are not 75 cents lower by the time of election day, much lower than they are today, I will come on the day after the
At this point, every time I hear a MAGA pundit talk about, the stock market, I'm like, you're just really trying to cover for the fact that, affordability is worse. Like, that's literally what they're doing. They're saying, look, don't look at the rising prices, look at the rising stock market. Like, bro, really, bro? Like, I'm not gonna lie, that is hilarious what they are doing to you guys. I'm not even going, like, come on, guys. They're literally saying, don't look at the rising prices, just look at the stock market go up as you can afford things.
Emotional damage.
Man.
Term elections with a bright red nose for you. I believe President Trump.
I think you're going to be wearing a big bright red nose.
I believe President Trump knows and understands how to resolve this situation in Iran.
He doesn't.
I think that he is going to do so before the midterm election dates. I think by Labor Day, the price of oil and gas will be down substantially in America, and I think America will be safer than it was before.
All right, Glenn, I'm not buying that narrative for the simple reason I don't think Trump has control of this war. Yeah, I think the Iranians have been militarily hammered, but in terms of their asymmetric strategy involving the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf neighbors, I think they still maintain quite a large degree of control over what happens here. I think Trump's desperate to get out of this war, but trying to work out how he can do it where it doesn't look like actually some kind of surrender or defeat. And it all comes down to this claim he now says the whole war's been about stopping them having a nuclear weapon. Okay, but the enriched uranium remains buried away. There's no sign of the Iranians wanting to hand that over. I don't know why they would, because they'd lose all their leverage. The Strait of Hormuz remains in Iranian control. And so, again, I'm not disputing the military overwhelming superiority of the Americans and Israelis, but I don't see how you can claim at the moment that this war is not just dragging on exactly in the way that Donald Trump said he would always try and avoid. It's just becoming slowly a bit of a forever situation because the Iranians are like, well, we can keep controlling the Strait of Hormuz and keep our enriched uranium buried away until the cows come home. And Trump doesn't want to get engaged again in military strikes, but Netanyahu does. And again, comes back to the Israeli element here of competing agendas. What do you think?
First of all, just quickly on the whole narrative that's been pushed here, Marjorie Taylor Greene, like I said, has become public enemy number one for Trump. He drove her out of Congress, called her a traitor repeatedly. She voted for the big, beautiful bill. She voted for all of Trump's domestic issues. Her blasphemy was that she began objecting to Trump's wars in the Middle East, bombing of Yemen, arming the Israelis, bombing Iran, getting involved in a new war with Iran.
True.
So the idea that it was just because Massie voted against a bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene voted for when she got treated.
Bro, all the people who originally stood up like for MAGA, like what we originally voted Trump in for, pretty much got all. Well, now Marjorie Taylor Greene quit. Massie, he lost his seat. And Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and the rest of the America First guys have been pretty much pushed to the side for Laura Loomer, Mark Levin, and Lindsey Graham.
East as badly, if not worse, than Massie is just laughable. Again, it's the kind of thing that's just designed to insult the audience intelligence that it wasn't about Israel. But on the Iran war, I think, everybody knew that the U.S. was going to have military superiority. We had complete military superiority within weeks in the war in Iraq. Obviously, we had total military superiority over the skies of Afghanistan. They didn't have a navy, they didn't have an air force, and yet we got dragged into these endless conflicts because asymmetrical fighting when you're defending your own country is an extremely powerful way of fighting off larger powers. And the Iranians are obviously enraged that they were attacked by the United States and Israel. They have their own domestic population to deal with. They can't look like they've capitulated either, because that will then crumble or erode the entire justification for that regime, which is to protect the Iranian people, keep it a proud Persian nation. If Trump has been lying about this war from the start, saying from basically the beginning, the Iranians are in their.
I gotta hear it, dog. I gotta hear it. Yo, Blast Phantom, tell me what main issues. I gotta hear it. What main issues did Trump? I mean, not my bad, but did Massie go against Trump on? None at all. I cannot name one. Okay, hold on. Maybe the war and the Epstein files. But those are two things that Trump, well, except for the Epstein files, but no new war is something that Trump ran on. And we could damn near say the Epstein files, since he said he's going to be the most transparent government ever. You remember that? Most transparent government gave us pages of redactions. That doesn't sound like transparency to me. I'm just going to keep it real, my man.
Knees. They're begging for any kind of surrender. They want to give us everything in exchange for nothing. He announced 6 weeks ago they agreed to give over the quota.
No, he didn't. He did not vote against immigration shutdown. Massie's all for the mass immigration, mass deportation. So what what? I don't. All right, bro. You gotta be more details with that one. No. See, that's what I'm saying. You believe the propaganda. They lied to you about my man Massie. But it is what it is.
Unquote nuclear dust. They agreed to stop funding Hezbollah and Hamas. They agreed to essentially everything that he wanted in exchange for nothing. And of course, that was all false, because the Iranians know they have immense leverage. Trump's only choices are to restart the war, which will not only make Will have to come on and wear a gigantic red nose.
Well, Will might be. It's actually Clay. It was Clay that would have to do that. But I'm quite happy to put the same challenge to Will.
They both should wear one.
We get them both on the red noses.
Yeah, they both should absolutely wear one the next time they come on. Give it all this. But
people made a lot of money if they listened to me and kept their stocks. Stocks are at record highs. Unemployment.
To be fair to Clay, you were right about that.
But the stock market, rich people always do well in the United States. You can work. Trump can restart the war, and he can get involved into a Middle East conflict like the one he repeatedly promised he wouldn't do, or he can just stop the war and be humiliated because none of the goals that he set out he was going to achieve will actually be achieved, because the Iranians won't cooperate, because why would they? Or it could just be this third option where everything stays frozen, in which case there's no oil transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. Gas.
And that's what Iran is echoing right now. Iran is literally telling us that, yo, we want you to recognize our permanent administration over the Strait of Hormuz. I was like, hey, yo, they're getting that bold. AKA, they're saying, hey, look, you just gave us something that we didn't even know well, I'm gonna be honest with you. This kind of shows either Iran's restraint or they just didn't know how well they could close the strait, because they could have been charged fees, been basically control a key aspect of the global economy, but they haven't. Until we decide to pop this war off with them. And now all of a sudden we're in this situation. It's like we walked in there with a couple goals, and then we added a whole new one of opening the strait when we attacked Iran. And here's the thing. Iran told us they were going to do this. They told us they were going to close the strait before we attacked them. And they told us they were going to attack our allies in the Gulf regions and destroy our bases if we attacked them. And they did all of that. All of that was completed.
Prices continue to go up. All these massive secondary effects on the world economy continue to cause massive suffering, not only around the world, but especially in the United States, against the people that Trump promised, whose life he was going to improve. If he had a way out of the war, the war would be over already. The reason the war is not over is because Trump has no way out.
Just let terrorists continue to engage in terrorism in the Strait of Hormuz.
It's such a manipulative way.
Iran has control of the Strait of. Hold on.
Yeah, here's a problem with that, though. It's like, one, they want reparations, and I don't think we're going to give them reparations, but we will give them sanction relief. I'll tell you that right now. We'll give them sanction relief, but reparations is out the question, because that'll literally be giving them money. And I mean, that'd be way worse than what Obama did. Oh, like Obama did sanction relief. All right, we can get down with bigger sanction release with Trump, but actually giving these guys money. Oh, yeah, that would be outrageous. And they're actually like $1 trillion to repair their buildings and all that good stuff. Yeah, I mean, bro, we barely got $1 trillion to pay our debt, to pay the interest on our debt. Ain't no way we're doing that. And also, Massie also, no, he didn't vote against the big, beautiful bill. He voted against the pork in the big, beautiful bill. Because if you looked at the original version, it had no regulations on AI for like what, 10 years. And then it didn't even include a good amount of the Doge cuts. Remember, Thomas Massie came out and made his position clear that, yo, these cuts should be more. There's not enough. And that's the reason why he voted no. So pretty much he was making sure that MAGA, which was supposed to be, I guess, me and you, got everything we wanted.
Iran has control of the Strait of Hormuz, which, by the way, they don't have at all because we put a blockade. But the only reason they have any aspect of strategic capability is because they're threatening to blow up people who are innocently traversing the Strait of Hormuz. That is basically, they are terrorists threatening to take hostage the entire global economy.
Which is what the U.S. is doing to Cuba. Which is what the U.S. is doing to Cuba. It's what the U.S. is doing to Cuba.
Crazy. Because they are crazy.
It's what the Israelis are doing to Gaza. And it's what the Israelis are doing.
Let me bring in the two others, because you guys have had a lot of airtime here. Let me bring in Will Chamberlain. I mean, as Glenn just said, Clay just said the Iranians are crazy. I wouldn't say that Donald Trump's social media posts of the last 3 months have been exactly the most non-crazy stuff I've read in recent years. I mean, you could say it's even crazier than the Iranians. 1 minute he's going to annihilate the entire country, 90 million people, and he's going to do it in the next few hours. Next minute he wants a deal. Then he's going to annihilate them again. Then he wants a deal. Then he's going to do this. Then he's going to do that. U-turn after U-turn, change the plan. And what it says to me, knowing Trump very well, is that he wants to get out of this thing, and he's trying to work out a way of getting out of it. But if at the end, Will, and we've debated the Iran war, so we don't have to relitigate all that again between you and me, but if at the end of this, and I don't know quite how this ends, frankly, because I think it's in the Iranian interest to string it out as long as possible. But if it ends with the Iranian regime still in place, with the former supreme leader's son running the show as the new supreme leader, with the IRGC still in a tight control of its people, with the people not rising up at all, because they haven't done so far in 3 months for a number of reasons, but they haven't, and with the Strait of Hormuz still having some form of control by the Iranian regime, perhaps even putting tolls on stuff that didn't exist before the war started, where's the victory? And if they keep their enriched uranium, where is the victory?
You're right that wouldn't be a victory, and you're hypothetical, which is why President Trump won't let it come to pass. I think.
Guys, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, yeah, and I put a goal in the chat. Let's see if we can get the 10 super chats to keep this streaming running a whole lot longer. Appreciate the support, guys. And if not, at least make sure that you like the video. All right, let's get right back into it.
That's the simplest way to understand that. President Trump is no fool. He understands that a world where Iran retains its enriched uranium and control over the Strait of Hormuz would be a world where the United States, if it withdraws, would have lost the war strategically. Yeah. So he's not going to do that. Very simple. So there's basically the options available to him that he's actually going to take are, as Glenn put it, options, I think, number 1 and 3, which are escalate, which I think is the most likely outcome here. I think President Trump is likely going to escalate within the next week or two, or kind of maintain the blockade and try and suffocate the Iranian economy.
But if he escalates, Will, if he escalates, sorry to jump in, but if he escalates, the IRGC have already let it be known that if there's any escalation again in military strikes, they will launch a barrage again, and they've got still over 1,000 ballistic missiles.
Yeah, according to our CIA, yes, according to our own intelligence, they're saying that they still maintain over 70% of their pre-war stockpile. And then the leader of the Iranian parliament pretty much saying that, yo, yeah, if you strike us again, too, we'll actually go towards that 90% enrichment. So is attacking Iran really the best plan? Of course not. But will they do it anyway? Most likely.
Reportedly, they will launch a barrage at their Gulf state neighbors who are already feeling a very, very hard pinch from this, both economically and I think in terms of their alliances and in terms of their security and everything. The last thing they want, when they've already lost a lot of people who've gone home, who migrated there, tourism is obviously on its knees. If there's an escalation again, and that carries it through the summer, it's going to be absolutely devastating for the whole region. And everyone knows that because we've seen it already. So how does Trump escalate without the Iranians escalating in a way that just makes this even worse?
I think you have to do something like what you did at the beginning of Operation Epic Fury. I mean, there was all sorts of talk that tens of thousands of Americans would die. Well, I mean, if Epic Fury started out and everybody
I would
said,
have to ask them, like, bro, what did we get out of Epic Fury? I mean, did we get regime change? No. I mean, did the Iranians control the Strait? Actually, they controlled the Strait because we started Operation Epic Fury. Ain't that about a bitch? So, I mean, what have we completed? Have we decimated their military completely? Like their Navy? No, because their navies was keeping the Strait closed. Have we decimated like anything of Iran's to where we making them defenseless? Not at all. So what has Operation Epic Fury honestly got us, since you're so dedicated, or since he's so dedicated to the idea of, well, maybe we need to resume strikes. Maybe this is what we need to do. What, the strikes that didn't get us anything but further inside of this conflict?
tens of thousands of Americans would die if we did something like that. Actually, we lost a total of 13, probably roughly the same amount we would have lost in normal peacetime military operations. I think the United States military is extraordinarily capable. In the event that we decide to escalate things and restart, we will do enormous damage to Iran's ability to threaten both either us or our Gulf Arab allies. And that will be the answer to your question.
You sound extremely optimistic about that with no real reason to. I don't see the evidence that would.
I mean, I think I have a lot of reason to be. The military, the military.
We were
success
told this would all be over, Will, in 2 to 3
Midnight
weeks.
Hammer.
I remember being assured this would be over in 2 to 3 weeks. Then it was 6 weeks. We're now 3 months into this thing.
I was told 4 days. Day one, I was told 4 days to 2 weeks. Bro, we're about to go into the third month, man. Like, it's really hard to hear the arguments after that. And especially since we have no results after all these days. Like, bro, we're claiming that we're doing a blockade to collapse their economy. And that's not even working. And for those of you who are wondering, if you're new here, like, if you're wondering why that's not working, well, geographically, Iran's just in a very clutch place to where a blockade is almost impossible to affect them when it comes to the fact that their biggest buyers is China and Russia. So let's go to this little map right here. And let's go ahead and zoom in on Iran. Boom. Now, you see this big old body of water right here. This is called the Caspian Sea. And the Caspian Sea leads right into Russia and Kazakhstan, which has a railway that goes right into China. And then guess what? They don't even got to use the Caspian Sea to get to China. I mean, they could just go over here to their allies over here in Pakistan and get right in there. Right in there. Getting their money. And, over here where the color wires at are our internet cables that are, laid across the world under the sea. But this is where the Strait of Hormuz is. And since we're doing a blockade over here and they can just go through the Caspian Sea or right through Pakistan, I mean, is this blockade really working, guys? Just geographically speaking.
Launched barrage after barrage after barrage until they stopped barraging. And it didn't achieve any of the goals that were supposedly the goals of the war. So doing more barraging is fine. But all that will mean
that's just not true.
Well, it is true.
Mm-hmm.
Who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Iranian military capability.
Who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
That was achieved in spades.
Yeah, but who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Actually, I mean, the United States.
Oh, come on.
The problem is also Iran is threatening to harass shipping, but the United States actually does control the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, stupid. Oh, man. No, that's stupid. A banger. Oh, no, we control the Strait of Hormuz, even though they're the ones regulating ships to go through. They're the ones collecting fees for these ships to go through. But, oh, no, we're the ones who control it. Like, really, bro?
What did he say?
Like, all right, bro, I ain't gonna lie. You deserve all the sound effects for that one. Like, oh, boy. Delusional. But he sounded so intelligent saying it, though. Did he not? Like, let's go back on the delusion.
Who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Iranian military capability.
Who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
That was achieved in spades.
Yeah, but who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Actually, I mean, the United States.
Oh, come on.
The problem is also Iran is threatening to harass shipping, but the United States actually does control the Strait of Hormuz because we have a navy in Iran.
That's complete delusional nonsense. Of course they don't.
I mean,
well, then why can't Iran get its ships out?
Why can't the rest of the world get their?
Oh, bro. Oh, that was too funny, man. Everybody in the panel looking at this guy like, did you really just say that America controls the strait? Like, did you really believe the peak Hegseth Fed slop? Did you really believe that, bro? No, Iran still has control of the strait, man. Trust me. If America had control of the strait wouldn't be closed. Like, are you serious? Oh man, it's like the fact that he said it is just too funny. No, I'm just gonna keep it pushing. I could barely react. I'm sorry.
Tankers through, unless it's approved by Iran.
Because they're not willing to take the risk of Iranian harassment. But that doesn't mean that they have like meaningful control over the strait.
That means
like,
we don't control the strait, dumbass. If we can't sit there and assure that these ships can make it through on our will, on our command, and they can only make it through on Iran's, that means they control it. Like, are you serious? Oh yeah, he's all right. It is what it is. I can't, bro.
They can grasp.
Surely the people that control,
who actually has the ability to blockade,
actually control,
who can control what ships go in and out.
Well, you think America's controlling what ships are going in and out?
Maybe you're making an argument that the United States and Iran currently share control of the Strait of Hormuz.
Just to be clear, you think the United States is controlling access through the Strait of Hormuz right now?
Yeah, effectively. Yeah,
that's complete nonsense.
They have a full blockade on Iranian, all the Iranian ports.
We've almost reached the stage. I'm not singling you out for this, but we've almost reached the stage of Baghdad Bob. You know, old comical Ali. You remember him? The guy in the Iraq War in 2003, he was literally standing there going, there's no sign of the Americans. And they were literally blowing things up behind him.
Nah, he deserves all the ridicule in the world for that one. Just for that. Why? Because it's sit there and say, oh no, you know, we're controlling the Strait of Hormuz. I'm like, bro, if that was the case, we wouldn't even be talking about the Strait right now. And gas price would probably be $1.30 cheaper. But okay, though. Okay.
Right?
Okay, then why can't Iran ship anything?
Well, you're so desperate for this to be true.
Why can't the rest of the world? Well, why can't the rest of the world? That's what he's asking you.
Again, I already explained that they're harassing it, but like, again, this is, I guess we're having a semantic debate about control, right?
Semantic.
Like, obviously, Iran still retains the ability to harass shipping,
the crucial part of the whole thing.
Way that the Americans do because they don't have boats.
But it's the crucial part of the whole thing. The Iranians have realized they can wage an asymmetric war involving controlling a small stretch of water, which is preventing a lot of the world's energy getting out.
Piers, let me, you're saying asymmetric war.
Yes.
They are threatening terrorism, right? I mean, this is like saying, hey,
well, not really. I don't think in this case. I think they are an appalling regime, very capable of propping up terror groups all over the Middle East.
Let me just play out the analogy here.
I would say that responding to attacks by the American and Israeli military, I wouldn't categorize Iran responding to that as terrorism, would you?
Well, I would. Hold on. I would, because
if you respond to the American...
Yeah, well, but if you respond to
anyone can attack Iran in a war, but if they fight back, they're terrorists. Is that your argument?
No, let me explain.
Yes.
No, let me explain. If they fire back at the United States, they are returning fire at us. That's not terrorism. That's a war, right? If they are threatening to blow up non-U.S. flagged, which they are, international ships, if they happen to pass by Iran, that is terrorism. And Piers, let me use that.
Yeah, I mean, terrorism, piracy. No, that's true. But here's the thing, though. They wasn't doing that before this war, and they're only doing it because of our act of aggression. So if we didn't want this to happen, then we should have never popped off this war to Iran. Trump could have just kept his campaign promises and focused on affordability. But no, he just had to listen to Bibi. I mean, when, past U.S. presidents all understood that, you know what, sometimes you just got to tell BB no and kick rocks and do it yourself.
Example, you wouldn't say that Al-Qaeda controls American airports because we all have to go through the TSA to be concerned about whether they might blow up airplanes. Terrorism, that is what Iran is threatening.
That's the most torturous argument I think I've ever heard.
They are threatening.
You're comparing the TSA to the Strait of Hormuz situation.
In the same way the TSA controls an airport, right? Because they make sure that there are no terrorists trying to kill people.
Right.
The United States blockade controls the Strait of Hormuz.
There isn't a blockade.
They are trying to keep
That's the whole point. They stopped the blockade after about 2 days because it wasn't working.
No, the blockade is there. Iran can't get their oil out.
But tankers are coming through. Tankers are coming through with Iran's permission. That's not a blockade, is it? The tankers that are coming through are with Iran's permission, not America's.
Yeah.
Where's the blockade?
Iranian oil is not going out unless the United States allows it. It's crazy that we allow.
No, you're not hearing them. Iran is allowing other countries through the strait. on their permission. Like, if you look at the Strait of Hormuz and how, do I need to actually bring up a picture of the strait real quick so this man understands? Because you got to understand, they control the key point of the strait. Like, they got to get through Iran's control of the strait first to get to the naval blockade set up by the U.S. Excuse me. So if Iran is the only way these ships can go through to even reach the naval blockade of the U.S., who controls the strait? Iran, because they control the first checkpoint. If you don't check in with them and pay that fee, you won't even get to the U.S. naval blockade that's going to let you through because you're not an Iranian ship.
Out Iran to continue to pump, even while we're bombing the country, we've allowed Iranian oil and gas to continue to be pumped. Well, right now, Piers, what they're running into is they don't have the capacity to store all the oil and gas in Iran, which is why their economy is in complete shambles.
Well, actually, I've read that is also a massive exaggeration of the reality, and that they can keep this going for months and months without any problem. I don't know. I'm just reading a lot of counter.
Yeah, according to our CIA assessment says that Iran can last out to 6 months with the blockade. And like I said, if you look at the map that I showed you, like geographically, they can get to their biggest buyer, China, through Pakistan. They can take the Caspian Sea up to Russia. So what's really stopping them from getting to their biggest buyers? That's why it's going to take about 6 months to act for actually any real damage to get set in, or for the blockade to, I guess, collapse the economy the way they wanted to. But let me go ahead and get over to this real quick, though. This is the Strait of Hormuz, if you ain't know. See, and as you see, Iran's coastline, pretty much takes up the entire strait. And this is the part that they need to control right here, this little bend right here. And they do control it. They do. So unless you pay that fee to Iran and you let them guide you through, you're not going to get to that naval blockade that's right here. So Iran controls here. The naval blockade that the U.S. imposing right now is over here. That's the problem here. So how can we control the strait when they control checkpoint 1? And if they can't get past checkpoint 1, then they're definitely not going to get to checkpoint 2. Like, now do you get why the blockade is not really? Now you get why the blockade is not working, and do you also get why we don't control the strait? As Wilt Chamberlain was trying to say, because geographically it's just not working out for us.
The argument to that point, which has been a point made a lot. And I'm not really sure that's true. Let me bring Buckley back in. Buckley, we're almost, in a way, the war has got asymmetric elements to it. This panel is now a completely asymmetric panel, because you've got people who are wanting me to believe that America has full control of the Strait of Hormuz, that it's won the war militarily. So I'm not really sure what the problem is. How is it that the rest of the world's looking at this going, where's all our energy? Why are gas prices going through the roof? Why is gas price at the pump in America double where it was? If everything is as you guys are trying to sell it to me, and it's a bit of snake oil stuff going on here, then I don't know what the problem is.
It's terrorists are extracting a cost.
Why aren't the Iranians just handing over the uranium and we all go home? Buckley.
That's why Clay's TSA analogy actually was accurate, in that TSA doesn't keep Americans safer. It's total absurd feeder. People are suffering as a result.
I hate that I have to defend
TSA. America decimated.
I'm a big fan of TSA, by the way.
A year and a half ago, and now we're at war because we're worried about them having nuclear capability. It's ridiculous. We don't have control of the Strait of Hormuz. That's just clearly obvious. By the way, if you're going to wear a red nose, Clay, I would say you should, but instead you should go to Kentucky, talk to some of your relatives, maybe buy some gas for some of the people in Massie's district or in Nashville, or buy a $5 gallon of milk for them. Let people seriously.
But honest question, I have a lot of family that lives in Kentucky.
That Trump made.
Why did they not vote for Massie?
Because you told them not to.
They didn't. They were completely deluged with foreign money. They were.
Okay,
yes,
so
Trump
you think the people up?
I would just say. Let me go back. Actually, let me ask you this question. You said that the money didn't have any effect. This was to introduce an unknown candidate, Gowron, to the electorate. On the fact that the guy, all his constituents sheep, wouldn't actually debate Massie, and said he was for a draft. What else is what's the entirety of Galrin's policy?
I mean, here's a problem. The fact that they voted for somebody who wouldn't pull up to debate Thomas Massie is crazy. And here's the thing: if he'd have pulled up to that debate, Thomas Massie would just expose how he's just some Israeli shill who don't even know a damn thing about the district. Like, I think that's why he didn't pull up to that debate, and he was just so sure that $38 million can get him across the line. And here's the thing: that's why a lot of people are coming out with this conspiracy theory that it's rigged because, well, bro is a little too confident. Like, when you don't pull up to a debate against a guy who's ran that district, who won every election in that district for the past like 10 years, and you don't pull up for a debate against that guy, what does that tell you? That means that you have a different type of confidence that you're just going to win it. It's like when Trump didn't show up for the Republican primary debate. He just knew he was going to win it.
What's his policy platform that $33 million actually conveys?
It's a fair question. I trust the people of Kentucky's 4th congressional district to pick the person that they think best represents their interests. They believe, whether you agree or disagree with it, they believe that President Trump represents their interest better than Thomas Massie, and anyone that Trump endorsed, I believe, would have beaten Thomas Massie, just like in Indiana and just like in Louisiana. Trump is the most popular politician in any of these congressional districts that are represented by Republicans.
But if that's the case, all right, Clay, I'm not saying you're wrong, but if that's the case, why is Trump's personal approval rating so bad? If he's that popular, how can he be also simultaneously so unpopular?
It's a good question, Piers, and I would ask you this. Trump is the most popular politician in America right now. Who is a politician nationwide that has a higher approval rating than President Trump? I don't think there is one. There's no Democrat that's more popular than Trump. I think there's just a lot of angry people in America. And maybe the panel here represents that pretty well. Whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're an independent, people are just angry. And if you want my theory on why that is, inflation went up so high. I understand it. Every time I go through a Chick-fil-A drive-through for my 3 boys, I have to pay over $50 for a fast food meal. That is lunacy.
I mean,
things
that's
cost way too much because inflation went to 9% under Biden. Affordability is by far the #1 issue that people care about, and people haven't gotten used to how much everything skyrocketed in cost.
The problem is, okay, but that's you see the problem is, you see, your red nose challenge. The risk, I think, to you in this, and I'm going to include Will in this because he's pretty well launched himself under the same horse, is that you are making a bet that Trump, the great deal maker, can extricate himself from this Iran war. And I'm not sure that he can. And I think the really interesting issue, which again brings it back to Israel, is that I think that Netanyahu is sensing that Trump wants to get out of this, and he wants him to do the opposite. He wants him to double and treble and quadruple down on the military side to try and destroy the regime, get the uranium and so on. So you're going to have competing national interests there. The more that Netanyahu is at war somewhere, and currently he's at war there and in Lebanon, the more he's at war, the more popular he gets within the confines of Israel. However, if you're Israeli, I would say to you, but your country becomes more unpopular around the world as a consequence. So where's the trade-off there? Buckley, what was interesting was that Will posted something that Ted Cruz clearly enjoyed because he reposted it, which is this, we've got a picture of it here, claiming that Massie's kiss of death was when he was on Tucker, your brother's podcast. What do you feel about that allegation?
I think it's an absurd claim. Tucker is a journalist who gave Massie an opportunity to articulate his principled stance on things. They've been consistent for the 12 years he's been in Congress. It's in line with the program that Donald Trump has been articulating for more than 10 years as well, and exactly what people expected when they voted Donald Trump into office. So I'd love to see some exit polling from Kentucky. I haven't seen it. I don't believe for a moment that what Will Chambers says is true.
So are you pretty convinced, Buckley, that it was the Israeli influence? It was the millions pumped in from the Israeli donors, and there was an Israeli component to why they wanted Massie to lose. It was because he was becoming ever more strident in his criticism of the Israeli government.
I think it's undeniable. Why else? What other rationale would there be for Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson and others who've articulated their loyalty lies with Israel, that they want more, Iran or Israel wars fought by America, and they want more foreign funding? I don't know.
No, I just have to add one point to this. Wait, I just have to add one point to this because it's driving me insane. This narrative that, he was mad at Thomas Massie because of the big, beautiful bill. Look at the people who Donald Trump has waged war on, who were once his allies. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Alex Jones. All of these people had no problem with the big, beautiful bill. They all have one thing in common. They're infuriated in general about U.S. largesse going to Israel, and anger in particular that Donald Trump with Benjamin Netanyahu started the war in Iran. That is what gets you on Trump's angry list. If you can criticize him for his subservience to Israel and for his and opposing the war in Iran, and that's what all of those people that are now on his list of the evil people that he wants to expel from MAGA have in common. It's not the big, beautiful bill. It's Israel and the Iran war. And if we're being honest, that is the only conclusion possible.
Will, what's your response to that?
That's just not true, Glenn.
Except,
Come on, that's fair.
can I respond to this just quickly?
Sure.
Trump wanted Massie out before he ever bombed Iran the first time. In June of 2025, James Blair, who is President Trump's top advisor, posted on Twitter, "I hope you enjoy your final term in Congress." There may be multiple reasons why Massie lost. The reason Trump wanted him out
That was when they bombed Iran. That was when they bombed Iran, Clay, in June of 2025.
It was before they bombed Iran. They wanted him out over the big, beautiful bill. They said, "You're gone." Israel was not even an issue.
Like I said, it wasn't the big, beautiful bill. It was literally the Epstein files. And then, of course, the Iran war didn't really help. But it was mostly the Epstein files. Let's not sit here and play stupid as if that wasn't really the main reason they wanted him gone. Of course, the disagreements over the big, beautiful bill may have started it. But let's be real. He did vote for it at the end of the day. And Trump did get his big, beautiful bill. But the problem is now when it came to the Epstein files, ever since then, that's when they've been talking about, we got to primary Thomas Massie. And the thing is, he don't want to admit that. He don't want to admit that the only reason they try to primary the man is because his anti-Israel stance or his anti-funding of Israel's stance, and the fact that he pushed for the Epstein Transparency Act. Those are the two reasons. But that don't sound good to the American people, so they got to push it like he's against Trump.
The point in time in 2025 when Trump said, "You're out." And so he does not like
I
Thomas
wouldn't say against Trump, but against MAGA values, against America First values.
That was when the Israel attacked Iran. That was a 12-day war.
He hasn't liked him for years. Look, I like Massie. The truth of the matter is Kentucky 4th Congressional District members, the voters, they like Trump more than they like Massie. And you can try to make as many different stories about this as you want. But ultimately, the people of Kentucky's 4th want somebody who is going to support Trump 100% of the time. 90% is not enough from that district. And as a result, Trump is more popular and Massie lost. Now, if Massie has great arguments, I'd encourage him to run for president in 2028. Maybe the nation will respond better to his arguments. I love the marketplace of ideas. His career as a Kentucky politician, I think, is over.
It's just so funny when conservatives lose races, it's because of George Soros money and because the media is all aligned against them and all these institutions are against them.
And that's why I'm pissed off, because it's like y'all did the same thing that the Democrats did. When the Democrats wanted somebody gone, they called their homeboy Soros and he put in those millions of dollars. When the Republicans want somebody gone, and the thing is, here's the thing, we criticize the Democrats for their use of George Soros, but we go and do the same thing with Muriel Adelson. And then we want MAGA to go and look the other way like it didn't happen in front of our eyes. Okay, that's what I'm saying. This is why I say MAGA is low-key selling out. Actually, they have sold out. The fact that they've allowed a donor to do this in their face with no criticism whatsoever kind of shows that, MAGA is sold out to the donors along with Trump.
When a conservative gets the way they want in an election, like Thomas Massie defeat, we go to third grade civics class, and it's like a Jimmy Stewart movie. Oh, the citizens of Kentucky listened to both sides, and they evaluated who they like best. Every president commands a cult of personality. I watch Democrats start cheering.
Your argument is that the people of Kentucky's 4th who voted for 10 points for Gallrein, which is really just an endorsement of Trump, aren't smart enough to vote in their own interest and made a poor choice.
My argument is that as conservatives constantly argue when they lose elections, a major factor in why people vote, who have full-time jobs, who are taking care of kids, who don't follow the news the way people like us do, who are paid to do it, that ads and all kinds of being bombarded with media stories, all these things affect people's perceptions.
To make the right choice, in your opinion.
No, this is something that conservatives don't just say about people in Kentucky. People like you say this about everyone in the country when you use elections. Oh, the media tricked them.
The people of Kentucky, I think know President Trump pretty well at this point. And I think they want somebody in that district
you have a
that is
third
going
grade
to represent him 100% of the time. They want 100%
it's really like, I don't even think in a third grade civics class they would descend to this level where they pretend that money in politics is a non-issue, that how many ads come on the air to
literally one of the biggest issues in politics is money, because if one candidate could outspend the other, they can literally sway the public through exposure instead of actually having a real plan, a real idea for their district, city, state, country. That's the problem. When you just allow money to take over and you don't allow these people to speak for themselves, but allow millions and billions of dollars just to run propaganda on the American people about who's bad and who's good.
People of things is a non-issue. This is moronic.
Nobody knew Gallrein. He didn't have a single.
Those ads were about demonizing Massie. Nobody gives a shit about. I don't even know Gallrein's name. He said the only thing he will do in Congress is whatever Trump tells him to. This had to do with demonizing Tom Massie through pro-Israel money.
You know, I have a final question. Listen, guys, we're running out of time. I have a final question, which is that Donald Trump openly admitted he asked for a warm body that could beat Massie. And my question for you, Clay, is do you think that if it had been a cold body, literally a dead, cold body, could it have beaten Massie?
Yeah, they brought in the guy older than Massie. That's kind of crazy. Trump said, find me a warm body. So what, they brought somebody older than the guy they brought to beat Massie is probably crazy.
Well, I think Democrats elected a dead man in Pennsylvania recently. So, look, I think that President Trump could have picked any candidate that was a reasonable representative for Kentucky's 4th, and they would have beaten Massie because he's more popular than Massie is, and the people of Kentucky 4 want 100% support for Trump.
Okay.
Trump knew it, and the voters proved it.
We've got to leave it there. I will note, though, that the YouGov latest running poll of most popular politicians in America, of those who are currently still active politicians, Bernie Sanders is way more popular than Donald Trump. Elizabeth Warren is more popular than Donald Trump. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is more popular. Zoran Mamdani is more popular than Donald Trump.
That is not true.
So, well, I'm looking at it now. The YouGov most.
Yes, Zoran is. I mean, think about it. Y'all ran a whole propaganda campaign trying to not get this man elected, trying to go against him, but you end up adding more fuel to his campaign. So, yeah, Zoran Mamdani is pretty popular. Everybody's watching him with a magnifying glass at this point.
Popular politicians in America.
Most people in America don't know who Elizabeth Warren is. They don't know Mamdani. Well, I'm talking about nationwide political candidates.
If you are denouncing the rolling YouGov poll of popularity,
mayor of the financial capital of the world, yeah, people tend to know who he is. Just because of the importance of New York City.
On those grounds,
I'm saying that is for you to do. Idea. YouGov is no idea what they're talking about, Pierce.
What do you basically?
Here's the thing: I hate Mamdani's politics. But I got to respect the way he won that election. I got to respect it. And the fact that he just seemed more authentic than the other candidates.
Your claim on them that Trump is the most popular president. I thought it was polling data. He
exactly.
showed you polling data. You're like, I don't believe it.
You did say all the polls show that Donald Trump's the most popular.
Don't even know who Mamdani is.
So when you said all the polls, when you said he's the most popular guy polled in America, and then we said, but actually in all the polls he's not, you said, well, the polls are liars. So those things can't be true.
Here's just an easy question for you. What percentage of Americans do you think even know Mamdani, would recognize him in a photo? 100% know Trump.
Focus on Bernie. Bernie is more popular than Trump. Everybody knows Bernie
Yeah.
Sanders. Focus on Bernie Sanders.
Why?
Due to the intense hate of Islam that has taken over, well, parts of it. Well, I ain't gonna lie. All right, damn near all of America. Yeah, trust me. People know who Zohan Mandani is. Fox was fear mongering on Zohan Mandani through the entire mayoral election. So trust me, we know who Zohan Mandani was. He was getting nationwide attention for months, and still is.
He's more popular than Trump.
Not even like.
And why isn't Bernie president? Why can't he even get the Democrat nomination?
You know what? Maybe he will be. That'll be another debate. Guys, I've got to leave it there. Thank you all very much indeed. 3 people were killed in a suspected terror attack at San Diego's biggest mosque on Monday. The 2 teenage suspects were found dead nearby with self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Both are said to be Nazi sympathizers, and the FBI is treating it as a hate crime. Many have been quick to draw a direct line between this attack and rising anti-Muslim rhetoric in public life. Republicans in Congress held a meeting on Sharia law just days earlier. Congressman Andy Ogles recently said that Muslims don't belong in American society, while Congressman Randy Fine said he prefers dogs. And the case for the defense was not helped this week by Laura Loomer, a confidant of the US president, who posted that people who go to the mosque want everyone killed. Well, joining me now,
which was wild. And I know I believe I showed you guys that like last night when I was covering the shooting, and I was saying like, yeah, this is what this anti-Muslim rhetoric brings us. And here's the thing: people kept saying this dumbass line of, "Oh no, I don't hate Muslims, I hate Islam." And I was just like, bro, how dumb are you guys to use that line? You're trying to hide the fact that you are hateful towards a group of people. You are hateful towards the followers of Islam, which are Muslims. So you can't